Chapter 2: The Struggle. Mia and Alex returned from their beach getaway feeling rejuvenated and more in love than ever before. They spent their days dreaming about their future together and planning their wedding. But as time went on, their excitement turned into stress and tension. Planning a wedding was much more complicated than they had anticipated, and they found themselves arguing more and more frequently. Mia was convinced that Alex didn't care about their wedding as much as she did, and Alex felt like Mia was trying to control every aspect of their big day. They struggled to find a middle ground, and their relationship began to suffer. As the weeks passed, their arguments became more intense, and they found themselves struggling to communicate effectively. Mia began to feel like Alex was pulling away from her, and she couldn't understand why. One day, Mia decided to confront Alex about their problems. They sat down together, and Mia poured her heart out, telling him how she felt and how much she wanted to make things work. Alex listened patiently, and then he spoke. He told her that he was struggling with anxiety and depression, and that planning a wedding was making it worse. He felt like he couldn't keep up with her expectations, and he was scared that he would let her down. Mia was shocked. She had no idea that Alex was going through such a difficult time, and she felt terrible for putting so much pressure on him. They talked for hours, and by the end of the conversation, they had made a plan to work through their problems together. But things didn't get easier. Alex's anxiety and depression continued to weigh heavily on him, and Mia found it difficult to support him, while also dealing with the stress of planning their wedding. They argued more frequently, and they both felt like they were drifting apart. Mia couldn't bear the thought of losing Alex, but she didn't know how to fix things. One day, Mia came home from work to find Alex packing his bags. She was devastated. "Where are you going?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I need some time to figure things out," he replied, his eyes downcast. Mia begged him to stay, but he insisted that he needed some space. They hugged each other tightly, and then he left. Mia was heartbroken. She felt like she had lost the love of her life, and she didn't know how to go on without him. But she knew that she had to be strong. She had to believe that they would find their way back to each other, no matter what. And so, as she sat alone in their apartment, Mia resolved to fight for their love, no matter how hard it might be. Mia spent the next few days in a fog, barely eating or sleeping. She called Alex every day, but he never picked up. She left him messages, begging him to come back to her, but he never replied. As the days turned into weeks, Mia began to lose hope. She didn't know where Alex was or what he was doing, and she felt like she was losing him for good. But then, one day, Alex called her. He sounded tired and sad, but he agreed to meet her for coffee. When Mia saw him across the table, she felt her heart skip a beat. He looked worn down, with dark circles under his eyes and a heavy sigh on his lips. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I shouldn't have left like that. I just didn't know what else to do." Mia took his hand in hers and squeezed it gently. "It's okay," she said. "I understand." They talked for hours, catching up on everything that had happened in the weeks since they had last seen each other. Alex told her that he had been seeing a therapist, and that he was working on his anxiety and depression. Mia listened attentively, proud of him for taking steps to heal. As they left the coffee shop, Mia felt hopeful for the first time in weeks. She knew that they still had a long road ahead of them, but she was willing to walk it with Alex, no matter how hard it might be. Over the next few weeks, Mia and Alex worked on rebuilding their relationship. They talked openly and honestly about their feelings, and they made a commitment to supporting each other through the good times and the bad. The wedding planning still had its challenges, but they were able to navigate them together with more patience and understanding than before. Mia knew that they still had a lot of work to do, but she felt confident that they could face anything as long as they had each other. As they fell asleep each night, Mia held Alex's hand and whispered, "I love you." And she knew that, no matter what life threw their way, they would face it together. But despite their efforts, Mia and Alex continued to face challenges. They were both busy with work and wedding planning, and they often found themselves arguing over small things. One evening, they were sitting on the couch, trying to finalize the guest list for their wedding. Mia had her laptop open, and Alex was scrolling through his phone. "I don't think we should invite my aunt," Alex said suddenly. "She's always causing drama, and I don't want her ruining our day." Mia frowned. "But she's your family. We can't just not invite her." Alex sighed. "I know, but I don't want to deal with her drama on our wedding day. It's already going to be stressful enough." Mia felt a pang of frustration. She wanted to include everyone they loved in their special day, but she also didn't want any unnecessary drama. She didn't know what to do. As they continued to argue, their voices growing louder and more tense, Mia suddenly realized that they were fighting about more than just the wedding. They were both feeling overwhelmed and stressed, and they were taking it out on each other. She took a deep breath and put her hand on Alex's arm. "Let's take a break," she said gently. "We can come back to this later when we're both feeling calmer." Alex looked at her, his eyes softening. "Okay," he said. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get so worked up." Mia smiled at him. "It's okay. We're in this together, remember?" They spent the rest of the evening cuddled up on the couch, watching a movie and enjoying each other's company. And as they fell asleep that night, Mia knew that their love was strong enough to weather any storm. However, their argument about the guest list was just the beginning of their problems. Over the next few weeks, Mia and Alex continued to have disagreements about the wedding planning, and their communication began to break down. One day, Mia received a phone call from her mother, who lived in another state. She was crying on the other end of the line, telling Mia that her father had just been diagnosed with cancer. Mia was devastated. She had always been close to her father, and the news felt like a punch to the gut. She didn't know what to do, and she didn't want to burden Alex with her problems, as he was already stressed with work and wedding planning. But as she tried to keep her emotions in check, she found herself withdrawing from Alex. She stopped texting him as much and stopped confiding in him about her worries. Alex noticed the change in Mia's behavior and confronted her about it. She finally broke down and told him about her father's diagnosis, and he held her as she cried. "I'm so sorry," he said, stroking her hair. "Why didn't you tell me before?" Mia shrugged. "I didn't want to burden you. You're already dealing with so much." Alex shook his head. "You're not a burden, Mia. We're in this together, remember?" Mia nodded, feeling grateful for Alex's support. But she still couldn't shake the feeling that their relationship was suffering. With her father's illness and the stress of the wedding planning, she didn't know if they were strong enough to make it through. As the days turned into weeks, Mia and Alex continued to struggle. They still loved each other deeply, but their problems seemed insurmountable. Mia began to wonder if they had made a mistake in getting engaged so quickly, and if they were really meant to be together after all. Alex could sense Mia's growing distance, and it only made him more anxious. He tried to be understanding, but he couldn't help feeling hurt that she didn't seem to be confiding in him anymore. One night, after a particularly tense dinner with Mia's family, Alex and Mia had a huge argument. They were both exhausted from the stress of the wedding planning and Mia's father's illness, and they ended up saying things they didn't mean. As the argument escalated, Mia couldn't help but bring up their unresolved issues. "I feel like you're not listening to me," she said. "You only care about the wedding, not about how I'm feeling." Alex shook his head, feeling frustrated. "Of course I care about how you're feeling, Mia, but you're shutting me out. How am I supposed to help you if you won't talk to me?" Mia felt a pang of guilt. She knew that Alex was right, but she couldn't bring herself to open up fully to him, to tell him about all of her fears and anxieties. As the night wore on, they both realized that they needed some time apart. Mia stayed with her family for a few days to help care for her father, while Alex took some time to clear his head. During their time apart, they both had a chance to reflect on their relationship. Mia realized that she was afraid of losing Alex, but she didn't know how to communicate her feelings without pushing him away. Meanwhile, Alex realized that he had been so focused on the wedding planning that he had neglected to support Mia emotionally. He resolved to be more understanding and patient, to listen to her without judgment. When they finally reunited, they sat down and had a heart-to-heart conversation. They both apologized for their hurtful words and promised to work on their communication. They acknowledged that their relationship was going through a tough time, but they were determined to make it work. As they hugged each other tightly, Mia felt a glimmer of hope. She knew that there were still challenges ahead, but she also knew that she and Alex were in it together. They loved each other deeply, and that was worth fighting for. Over the next few weeks, Alex and Mia worked hard to rebuild their relationship. They spent more time talking and listening to each other, and they made an effort to prioritize each other's needs. However, their struggles were far from over. Mia's father's condition continued to worsen, and she had to spend more and more time caring for him. This left Alex feeling neglected and frustrated as he struggled to balance his own work and personal life with supporting Mia. One day, Alex came to visit Mia at her parents' house, hoping to surprise her with a romantic dinner. But when he arrived, he found Mia in tears. Her father had taken a turn for the worse, and she was overwhelmed with grief and worry. Alex immediately pulled Mia into a tight embrace, holding her as she cried. He knew that he couldn't fix her father's illness, but he could be there for Mia in any way that he could. As the night wore on, Alex helped Mia take care of her father, offering support and comfort whenever she needed it. As they sat together in the hospital room, Alex realized just how much he loved Mia and how much he was willing to do to support her. Despite their challenges, Alex and Mia's love continued to grow stronger. They learned to lean on each other during the tough times and celebrate together during the good times. As the wedding day approached, Alex and Mia knew that they were ready to take on whatever challenges life might throw their way. They had each other, and that was all that mattered.